Hey, welcome to Writing 105 Problems in Authority and Expertise. My name is Rob, and I'm the instructor of the course that you have all signed up for. And I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited to meet all of you. I think you're in for a treat, hopefully. This is a course I've been planning, the theme that is. It's one I've been planning for a very long time. I'm excited to finally get to teach it. This will be the first time I'm teaching a Writing 105 course for U of R since spring 2018, so I've been away a little while, and I'm excited to be back. And yeah, like I said, I'm really excited to meet all of you. So I don't know if you've looked at the Blackboard page for this course yet, but I think everything on there is all set. If you check the tabs on the left, I think everything's there. I uploaded the syllabastard, so if you want to read the syllabastard and see what's on it, you can have a look at that. Let me know if you have any questions about anything on there. Um, I also have all the readings uploaded, all the assigned readings, and some other ones that aren't assigned, but which might be interesting. And so I only assigned a total of about 200 pages of reading for this course for the entire semester. So it's not a big reading load. It's really not. It's smaller than what I would normally assign for a Writing 105 course. And I don't normally overload people with readings. So it's not a big reading load, but I think I wanted to pick things that I thought people would find interesting, that I think would generate good discussions. And I wanted to leave myself enough flexibility that we could potentially have conversations about things that I didn't plan readings for, either things that I find people are interested in during the semester or things that are going on in the world that we feel like talking about, or sometimes you can have exciting class discussions uh that don't have a reading attached to them, so I wanted to leave myself some flexibility to do that. But the readings are great. I think they're enjoyable, and they're diverse enough. They're about enough different things that hopefully you'll at least enjoy some of them, even if like there might be some particular subject areas that aren't your cup of tea, perhaps. I don't think any of them are super long, which is definitely nice. So I also put all of the discussion prompts under their own tab. If you click on the tab that says discussion prompts, that's a Google Doc that just has all of the prompts for all of the discussions based on the readings that are assigned. And, it's not mandatory for anybody to look at those in advance. Um, some people like to look at them beforehand, so if you want reference to them at any point in the semester, they're there. Um, the one thing I always try to mention, usually more than once, is that the reason I write these prompts is because if I just come in and I say, "So how about that? Yeah, does Flynn have a point? Do you think he has a point? What did you all think of his argument?" Um, that doesn't always lead to as effective of a discussion as it does when I have specific prompts or questions that people can try to grapple with. And they're all open-ended questions, I think, hopefully these aren't questions that have correct answers. These are questions that we can discuss and debate, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. And this is the point I try to emphasize. The prompts are not by any means where we have to go when we discuss these readings. If you have a completely different direction you want to go in when we talk about these, that's completely unrelated to any of the prompts I wrote for it, that's awesome. Let's do that, okay? Um, just keep in mind that's the option. So, I guess what I'm saying is, use the prompts if you find them useful. Um, but they're not mandatory in that sense. Okay, I also had a tab called odds and ends, and that's the one I might upload additional things to during the semester. A few things there of note. I have a thing called the topics spreadsheet, or what do people write about? And I put that together several years ago because I found that, when I would teach a writing course, people would always ask me, well, what do people write about? And there's cool things that people have been written about that would be good things to mention when somebody asks that, but it never occurs to me in the moment when I'm asked to remember those or to think to mention them. I'm not very good off the cuff. That's something you'll probably realize. I don't think very quick on my feet. Um, but yeah, so I eventually got smart, and just put a spreadsheet together, and it's not super up to date, but at least as of a couple years ago, this is kind of what everybody wrote about for every course I've ever taught, for their argumentative paper, their textual analysis paper, and their research paper. There's also a link there to a short blog style piece I typed up on LinkedIn a couple years ago called How to Do Well in My Class. Take a peek at that if you're interested. It's probably the closest thing there is to an answer key for this course. And I'll probably spend, 10, 20 minutes going over the material on that on the first day of class. So you'll get a short verbal version of that on opening day if you don't look at it beforehand, but it's there if you ever want to consult it. There's also a document there that I think I titled it The Big Questions, and it's 5 different categories of questions that I think we're sort of asking when we talk about problems in authority and expertise, or questions about authority and expertise. And, there's sort of 5 of them there. I kind of wrote them behind me. Questions of legitimacy, questions of boundaries and domains, questions of specialization and insularity, questions of interest and influence, and questions of access and dissemination. And again, these aren't the only questions that we can ask or should ask. They're just the ones that sort of come to my mind as the ones that are particularly interesting. What has to be true of a group of people who study a specific thing together and collaborate with one another and converse with one another over a long period of time as they study it? What has to be true of that group of people for the rest of us to say that we should take what they say about that subject seriously? Do they just have to have an institution? Do they just have to have um, buildings? Do they have to have official certificates? I don't think that's all it requires. I mean, there are schools of parapsychology, right? You can get a degree in homeopathic medicine. So that there's something beyond those surface level things that we care about, right? There's a certain status that those things I mentioned lack, but who gives that status, and why do we assume that they're making the right call all the time? I think those are interesting things to wonder about. And, questions of boundaries and domains. Sometimes there's people from more than one discipline who see a certain question as, being in their own domain, and they don't always have the same approach. They don't always agree with one another about how the subject should be approached. And that can be interesting. What do people who aren't really on either team supposed to do with that. Um, Specialization and insularity. Is disciplinary expertise too narrow because of specialization? Do experts in a subject lack an understanding of certain implications of what they're discussing and studying and how it should be applied to the real world? Questions of interest and influence. Every intellectual pursuit, every type of research is paid for in some sense by someone. Every intellectual pursuit um, and type of research is done by someone, that by people with biases, with flaws, with blind spots, with personalities. How does when and how does that matter, and how should we understand it? And of course, the access and dissemination, because most people don't read peer review research. Most people don't get their sense of nutrition from reading academic journals on nutrition. That's not how most people decide what and how to eat. It's not how most people get their sense of public policy um, and politics or philosophy or morality. And it's probably not mathematically possible for that to be the case, right? Um, a person couldn't consult that much information, that much scholarly research in their lifetime to be knowledgeable in that sense about all the things they would want to be knowledgeable about. So, is there a responsibility on the part of, experts and authorities to make some kind of effort to, make what they found accessible to the public, or is there a duty of the public to try and have a means of ascertaining what's true and what isn't? What is the duty of journalists? What is the duty of the sort of middlemen, so to speak? And that kind of suggests I've been conceptualizing this course is sort of primarily about experts in academic subjects in college departments. It doesn't have to be limited to that. It definitely doesn't. There's definitely things other than that this subject could be broadly applied to, and I definitely encourage people to think outside that domain if they want as well. I've talked for longer than I meant to. But yeah, so first time ever doing this theme. I have no idea how it's going to work, but what I can ask is that hopefully people will bring themselves to it, bring their own interests to it, and find ways to make it as interesting as you can. Um, like I said, I try to be flexible about things, but I think you'll enjoy it. The way I do these courses, it tends to be very laid back. It tends to be very conversational. People tend to have fun with it. People tend to enjoy the feedback sessions we do on their papers. I tend to be pretty quick about getting back to people with grades and everything, and still being fairly thorough in the kind of feedback I give them. Group feedback on drafts tends to be something people enjoy. But yeah, this course theme, it really, at least for me, it sort of gets at the heart of what's sort of fun about being in college, and hopefully it'll resonate with people in that sense. I've babbled too much, so I'll stop now. But first class is on the 25th, but between now and then, check out the stuff on Blackboard if you want. And let me know if you have any questions or want anything or need anything or have a prediction about how many wins the Bills are going to get this season. Cool. That's all I wanted to say. So yeah, this is I'm really, really excited, and I'll see y'all on the 25th.